Picture a wooden world you and I were never meant to admire. A world of ships full of runaways, ex-sailors, and escaped slaves. All of them done being whipped for something as stupid as the wind being late. Now picture that same world quietly inventing ideas we use every single day. Things like profit sharing, written workplace rules, and even checks and balances government. And they did it all while flying a smiling skull to make you surrender without a fight. Look, this isn't a love letter to crime. It's a scavenger hunt for the useful, hardened blueprints that floated out of the golden age of piracy and washed up right in our lives. If this is your kind of weird, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And if you want the extended cut, comment, set sail. By the end of this, you will never look at a flag, a contract, or even your insurance policy the same way again. Grab a life jacket. We're starting with a constitution that fit inside a sea chest. All right, crew, let's board. As we go, tell me in the comments which trick you'd steal for your team. I'll pin the smartest take. Number 13. Ship constitutions. The Articles of Agreement. We think of pirates as agents of chaos, right? Pure anarchy. But here's the first wow moment. Most pirate ships were more organized and more democratic than any country on Earth at the time. Before any voyage, the crew would draft and sign Articles of Agreement. Picture it. A dark, smoky cabin, men gathered around a barrelhead arguing over the rules. These weren't suggestions, they were a binding social contract. They covered everything. Shares of the loot, yes, but also rules for onboard discipline. Who kept the weapons, even lights out at 8 p.m. so no one wasted candles or started a fire. One set of articles famously included the line, "The musicians shall have rest on the Sabbath day." This wasn't poetry. This was about predictability. On a Royal Navy ship, the rules were whatever the captain said they were, and punishment was the lash. On a pirate ship, the rules were written down and agreed upon by everyone. It's the ultimate takeaway. Rules you sign before you sail are what calm the storms you haven't sailed into yet. If your team is arguing mid-project, it's a planning problem. Could your team's rules fit on one page? Number 12. Separation of powers at sea. Here's the really crazy part. Most of these pirates were refugees from the Royal Navy, where the captain was a tyrant. He was judge, jury, and executioner, 24/7. Pirates hated this. They'd seen what absolute power does. So they engineered a system to stop it. On a pirate ship, they split authority on purpose. In the heat of battle, the captain had absolute command. He was the wartime CEO. But, and this is the genius part, the moment the battle was over, his power vanished. In daily life, the real boss was the quartermaster. He was elected by the crew, and he handled everything else: food provisions, daily discipline, and most importantly, dividing the loot. He was the people's man, there to protect the crew from the captain. Historians call it a floating town meeting. They invented checks and balances, not in a fancy hall in Philadelphia, but on a wet deck in the Caribbean, decades earlier. It just proves checks and balances work, even when the office has sales. Number 11. The Jolly Roger, a negotiation tool. We all know the flag, but it wasn't a 24/7 banner of death. It was a brilliant piece of psychological warfare and a business tool. Think of it this way. Fighting is expensive. You risk your ship, you lose good men, and you might damage the cargo you're trying to steal. Pirates didn't want to fight. They wanted the loot. So, they used a two-flag system. First, they'd raise the Jolly Roger, the black flag. This was a message. It was a UI that meant, "We are pirates. Surrender now, and we will spare your lives. We just want your stuff." It was an offer, a negotiation. If the other ship was stupid enough to shoot back, the black flag came down, and the red flag went up. The red flag meant no quarter, no mercy, no survivors. That legible, repeated signal reduced costly combat because surrender became the rational move. It was a UI for surrender. And the lesson is timeless. Make your policy obvious from a distance, and you'll argue less up close. Number 10. Blackbeard smoke machine. And then there was the guy who was his own marketing department, Edward Teach Blackbeard. Blackbeard understood theater. He knew that in this game, your reputation was more powerful than your cannons. He sometimes wove slow-burning hemp fuses into his massive beard and hair. In the dark, surrounded by a cloud of acrid smoke, with bandoliers of pistols strapped to his chest, he looked less like a man and more like a demon. He wasn't superhuman, he just had to be believable as a nightmare. And it worked. Ships surrendered to the myth of Blackbeard, often without him firing a single shot. It was Conversion Rate Optimization, 1718 edition. It proves the story people tell about you arrives long before you do. Number 9. Workers' Comp, 1722nd edition. This one is stunning. Let's go back to those Articles of Agreement. Buried in the text were scheduled payouts for injuries. Get this, in the respectable Royal Navy, if you lost a leg in battle, they'd dump you at the next port. You'd spend the rest of your life as a beggar. On a pirate ship, you lose a right arm, you get 600 pieces of 8, guaranteed, paid out from the common fund before anyone else got their shares. A left arm or a leg, 500 pieces. An eye, 100. This wasn't charity, it was recruitment. It was retention. It was a social safety net. How do you get brave, skilled men to be the first one to board an enemy ship? You guarantee them that if the worst happens, they won't be abandoned. It's a profound lesson. If you want smart people to take smart risks, you have to make the downside explicit and make sure it's covered. Number 8. Radical and profitable tolerance. This might be the biggest wow of all. We're talking about the early 1700s. The slave trade was at its absolute peak. Society everywhere was violently stratified by race. Yet, on a pirate ship, it was often a meritocracy. Historians estimate that on many crews, 25% to 30% of the sailors were of African descent, escaped slaves, and free men. Why? Was it because pirates were woke? No, it was because they were pragmatists. A ship needs 150 skilled, tough hands to operate. If you're a racist captain, you're cutting yourself off from a huge pool of talent. If you only care about skill, you get the best crew, win the most fights, and make the most money. Self-interest led them to an outcome that looks shockingly progressive. It proves that diversity isn't just a poster. It's fewer fights, a better crew, and a more profitable voyage. Number 7. Coffeehouses insurance. Lloyd's is born. This idea wasn't from pirates. It was because of them. Back in London, merchants were terrified. Their entire fortune could be on one ship. A single storm or one run-in with Blackbeard could wipe them out. So they started gathering at one specific coffee shop by the Thames, Edward Lloyd's. They'd trade gossip. Where's the Spanish fleet? Where were pirates last spotted? This gossip slowly turned into data, and that data allowed them to price the risk. A merchant would post a voyage, and wealthy backers would, literally, write their names under the ship's info on a piece of paper, claiming a percentage of the risk for a percentage of the profit. They were underwriting. That coffee shop became Lloyd's of London, the biggest insurance market on earth. The entire global industry of shared risk was born from rich guys in a coffee shop trying to quantify their fear of pirates. Number 6. Letters of Marque. Privatizing force. Ever wonder what the real difference is between a heroic privateer and a demonic pirate? Often, it was just one piece of paper. If a king wanted to fight Spain but didn't have money to build a navy, what did he do? He outsourced. He'd issue a letter of marque to a tough private captain. It was a government contract, a license to steal, but only from enemy ships. It was war as a franchise. This was brilliant. Until the war ended. Suddenly, you have thousands of armed, skilled, professional raiders who are all now unemployed. Their license to steal is revoked. What do you think they did next? This blurred line between state-sanctioned hero and outlaw shows that outsourcing works right up until the incentives start to drift. Number 5. The floating town meeting. This is different from the separation of powers. This was about daily governance. On a Royal Navy ship, the captain decided everything. Where to go, when to eat, who to attack. On a pirate ship, the big choices went to a common council. Where do we sail next? Do we attack that heavily armed merchant ship? Do we accept their surrender terms? The entire crew would assemble on the main deck for a literal show of hands. Every man who signed the articles got one vote. The captain ate the same food, lived under the same rules, and could be voted out for cowardice or cruelty. This was insane for the 1700s. The idea that a common sailor had a vote, it was radical, but it kept the crew invested. It's a simple truth. Voting is always cheaper than a mutiny. Number 4. Pay by shares, not salaries. This is the economic engine that made it all work. In the Navy, you got a tiny, fixed wage if you got paid at all. You had zero incentive to fight harder or take a risk. On a pirate ship, nobody got a salary. You got shares, equity. After a prize was taken, it was sold, and the money was divided. A new sailor might get 1 share, a skilled gunner or carpenter, 1.25 shares, the quartermaster, 1.5 shares, the captain, maybe 2 shares. Here's the wow part. The captain made, at most, twice what the lowest guy on the totem pole made. Compare that to a modern CEO making 400 times what their average worker makes. Because everyone was paid in shares, everyone was 100% motivated to make the voyage a success. It's the purest form of aligned incentives. If pay doesn't float with results, ownership is just a speech. Number 3, flags as a contract, the system. We talked about the Jolly Roger as a brand. Now think of the system of flags as a contract. It was a visual language, a traffic light for the high seas. Flag 1, your home country's flag, flying false colors. This was stealth mode. It let you get close. Flag 2, the black flag. This was the yellow light. It meant, let's talk. We are offering terms. Surrender and you live. Flag 3, the red flag. This was the red light. It meant you refused our offer. The contract is void, no mercy. This simple UX UI prevented costly misunderstandings. In a high-speed, high-stakes environment, everyone knew exactly what the options were. It's a masterclass in communication. A legible choice beats a nasty surprise every single time. Number 2, Freeport thinking, Nassau's pirate hub. For a few short, wild years, the port of Nassau in the Bahamas was basically Silicon Valley for pirates. It was a failed state. The British governor had fled. It had a deep-water harbor, it was perfectly placed on the trade routes, and it had zero government. So what happened? Talent flocked there, the best, most ambitious captains. Tools showed up, ship repairmen, weapons dealers. Capital arrived, merchants willing to buy stolen goods, no questions asked. And it had a culture of tolerance, see hash height. This Republic of Pirates was a perfect, accidental experiment in what happens when you remove regulation and concentrate talent. It became so powerful, so fast, that the British Empire had to send its entire fleet to shut it all down. It just shows ecosystems grow pirates and products the exact same way. Number 1, make rules you'll actually enforce. This is the grand unifying theory. The biggest wow is the paradox of piracy. We think of pirates as chaotic, free-spirited, drunken maniacs, and they were. But the system they built for themselves was shockingly stable, predictable, fair, and democratic. Why? Because on the open ocean, 1,000 miles from home, you can't trust intentions. You can't trust that your captain is a nice guy. You can only trust the system. Their articles, their flags, their shares, their votes. It was all about creating predictability in the most unpredictable place on earth. They weren't good men, but they were brilliant systems thinkers. So let's recap the blueprints. Need alignment? Write the articles before you sail. Need fewer fights? Signal your terms early and clearly. Need real buy-in? Pay by shares, not speeches. Need resilience? Pool the risk right where the storms hit. Pirates didn't try to build a better world. Their brutal incentives forced them to discover pieces of it. One flag, one contract, one vote at a time. If you learned something you'll use tomorrow, tap subscribe. And don't forget to tell me which rule you'd borrow for your ship. Want the extended cut? Comment, set sail. See you next week for another 13.